So I want to share something kind of fun and weird that I do when I'm learning a new piece of music and I'm trying to be more expressive and organic with it. So this is from Stanley Friedman's piece, Solus. We've got a lot of instructions. We've got very rubato, we've got molto vibrato, we've got molto portamento, and exaggerated and theatrical. This is like the epitome of parody and melodrama. So what's the plan? Well, we get silly with it and we write lyrics. I'm so lonely. I thought you would come today to visit, but I understand if you have more important things to do on your day off, and who am I to judge your actions? And now we incorporate body language. I'm so lonely. I thought you would come today to visit me, but I understand if you have more important things to do on your day off, and who am I to judge your actions? Now I mime the text. Exaggerated body language only, no speaking. Once I've hammed it up enough, then I will play the piece, and I will trust that all the emotional muscle memory that I've been building up through these exercises will simply fall into place. And it doesn't have to be that text in particular. It can be something more somber. It can be something even more ridiculous. It really doesn't matter. It's only for my own uses, and no one else has to know. It's not like I'm going to post this on the internet somewhere, right? One of the weaker areas in my trumpet playing is my articulation. Here's another passage from Stanley Friedman's Solus. We've got all these tricky intervals, and we've got lots of repeated articulation. Anytime I see a page of music like this, my whole body goes, "Rah!" The thing is, though, that as tricky and frenetic and maybe even angry as these kinds of passages are, nobody likes to be yelled at. So what I like to do is remove the sound of the trumpet from the equation entirely and just blow the barest minimum of air through the horn. By practicing my sound from the inside out, I can present this crazy piece of music in a way that won't stress out the audience, even if I'm terrified of articulation. So I have some follow-up thoughts from yesterday's video. I didn't like how yesterday my sound was still a little yelly, and so today what I'm thinking about in my practice sessions is the feeling of a resonant, buoyant, skull-vibrating head voice, and trying to carry that feeling over to my trumpet playing. Obviously, it's been a while since I was in 8th grade choir, but the point here is to give myself a new starting place when approaching a scary, aggressive piece like this. A starting place of resonance and voice and availability, as opposed to trying to muscle my way through it every single time I play. Sometimes I'll catch myself thinking, all right, with this project or with this performance or with this piece of music, I really want to connect with the audience. But there's an unstated assumption in that thought. The assumption that there's this immense gulf between performer and audience. That there's this innate separation between one person and another. And even if that assumption remains unstated and in the background, I think that audiences actually pick up on this. You know, for example, if someone is speaking to you and underneath every word they say, they have this assumption that you are somehow at a distance from them, or that you're not invested in them, or that they need to do something extra to get you interested in them. In other words, that well-meaning intention to reach out and connect with audiences might actually communicate to them that they were never connected to me in the first place. On the other hand, if I play the trumpet and I speak and I perform as if that connection is there in the first place, wouldn't I be a more open, genuine, vulnerable, and organic performer? And none of that means that I stop practicing public speaking skills, or stop learning how to phrase, or stop setting healthy boundaries. It just means that I start with a different assumption, an assumption of connection, of continuity, of vulnerability, and openness. And I think that's where the magic happens. So I want to share a little bit of how I organize my practice. Over time, I've kind of moved away from using things like calendars and checklists and spreadsheets as ways of tracking my practice habits, and more towards a system that's just as comprehensive, I think, but a little more flexible and adaptable. What I actually use is the Postit note app on my iPad. And here we have all my different categories for what I'm practicing on the trumpet. Down here I've just added a whole bunch of articulation categories. We've got sound and flow over here, setup and response, flexibility is up there. But in each of these little categories are all sorts of reminders and exercises and basic fundamentals that I need to be working on, and I can reorder them in any way that I choose, depending on, what stuff I really need to practice and what stuff is maybe a little less important. Let's say I need to practice transposition, and I can go over here and look, all right, so I'm up for D flat today. And as soon as that's done, I can just pull that down here. And the next time I need to practice transposition, I know it's time for me to do F. Fun thing about this is that I can take any one of these categories and rearrange them. So if I really need to work on my dynamics, I can put that way up at the top of the list and then rearrange everything around that. Right now, everything's kind of all over the place because I've been adding a lot of new cards and rearranging and tweaking some of the categories. But this is an ongoing process, and at any time, I can just come out here and look and see the entirety of my trumpet playing and see the shape of things and get a sense of what I need to work on next. So I want to share a short excerpt from a poem by Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese Buddhist monk and peace activist. And the poem's called Please Call Me by My True Names. I am a frog swimming happily in the clear water of a pond, and I am the grass snake that silently feeds itself on the frog. I am the child in Uganda, all skin and bones, my legs as thin as bamboo sticks. And I am the arms merchant selling deadly weapons to Uganda. I am the 12-year-old girl refugee on a small boat who throws herself into the ocean after being raped by a sea pirate. And I am also the pirate, my heart not yet capable of seeing and loving. For me, to think that practicing my long tones is an expression of the same collective human organism that also wages war and pollutes the earth is a little unsettling. But I also think that an important part of making art is recognizing that Marc Griset and everything that I think he is and does is not separate from anything or anyone else. no matter how beautiful or frightening, even if all I'm doing is playing long tones. So today I'm noticing that my sound is not as free-blowing or as carefree as I usually like it. If I imagine that my sound and my air is starting down here, it's almost as if it's moving up and up and up, and then it takes a wrong turn, and they get it stuck in traffic, and then it's coming up, and it's like, oh, I gotta go this way. And then it's finally out into the trumpet. So what I'm practicing today is this panting noise, this where everything down here is totally connected in a straight line to everything happening out here.